Hello, my sweet friends. This is Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks. So glad that you are joining me in this tutorial. We're going to make Buzzy the Bee. I shocked myself with this tutorial, actually. He turned out to be cuter than I even expected. I knew he was going to be cute, but I'm telling you, he is like the star of the show. I hope that you enjoy making him. I used my Addi 46 needle machine, my Addi 22 needle machine, and a Clover Wonder Knitter. Also used Bernat Premium yarn in the color Yellow Balloon, black, and in white, as you can see. Now, if you don't have a Clover Wonder Knitter, you're gonna wanna get one. I recently joined Amazon Affiliates, and I'm gonna put the link in the description box below. If you click on that link, I do get a small commission. I don't even know what it is at this point. And the price still stays the same for you. You don't pay anything more. But I will put the link down below for you. You're gonna wanna get one. They're the funnest thing. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. I love it more than my Addi egg. Shh, don't tell anybody. But I do. I think it's a great little tool to have. So once you have your supplies, we're gonna get going. But friends, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And come on over and join my Facebook group if you haven't done so yet. I want to make a quick mention of the fact that I do have a PayPal link underneath this video or on my homepage. If you want to support me in that way, it really does make a difference and I really appreciate it. No pressure there though. So thanks again for joining me. I always appreciate spending time with you. You guys are wonderful and you have made this journey just a joy. So thanks again for joining me. I hope you have fun. Don't forget to post in my group and let me see your creations. Once you have your machine, all set up, we're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn feeder. We're going to cast on. Taking our yellow, we're going to go in front of that first black, then behind, and in front, and behind, and in front, and behind. All the way around, doing a drawstring cast on. And friends, just let that yarn slip through your fingers. You don't want to put any extra tension on it for this part. When you have a loose cast on, it makes it easier for the next row because we don't have any weight from our project to pull these loops, this yarn down over these red teeth. So if it's a little bit looser, it'll glide down there a little bit easier. Before you get to the end, let's set our row counter to 0. It should be behind that last white and into the yarn feeder it goes. We are going to then knit quite slowly for our first row, making sure those loops go down over the red teeth. Just like that. That was row one. I always pull this down. I think that loop always looks wonky. We're gonna knit 10 rows of yellow. Just let it slip through your hands. I use my tension through I put it between my fingers there and it just slips through. That way I can feel for any knots in the yarn or any discrepancies. If the tension is tight coming out of the ball, I can feel it and take the necessary precautions. It's just my desired way. I do have tensioners that I can add to my machine, but I prefer to use my fingers. Okay, I'm gonna go for 10 rows. Finishing up row 10, I saw that black divider coming around, which I take a black permanent marker and I mark it so I can always see it coming around. I'm gonna cut my yarn tail, open my latch, pop that in between the last white and the first black. We still need to finish knitting these two needles, so make sure it's between the white and the black. Then you're going to take your black yarn, you're going to pop it in your yarn feeder. We're going to do a jogless join. What that means is we're going to, when you knit in the circular, every time you go around, it layers on top of each other. So if I'm coming around my barrel, the next time it's going to be on top. So those two colors don't match. A jogless join will allow us to tie them after we have it off the machine and pull those two rows together so that they're even. How was that for for a description? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our black yarn, we're going to put it on the other side of that white needle, just like that. Hold both strands, knit 4 or 5 needles. Then you're going to just take both ends of your black, you're going to help those down under those little dividers, and you're going to pull away from each other, both strands. It tightens it up in there as well, which gives us a nice tension on those first few needles as well. When we have it off the machine, we will notice that. You're going to do 4 rows of black. This is row 13. And one more will be row 14. It's 4 rows of black. There we go. I see that black divider coming around. I am going to stop right there, cut off the black. We're going to grab our yellow, open our yarn guide, pop that black in between the last white, the first black. Taking our yellow, we're going to pop it in there, shut the latch, swing that over to the other side to set up our jogless join, which again we will tie off when we have it off the machine. You're going to knit 4 or 5 rows. Pull both ends to tighten your tension. You're going to knit 6 rows. So you're going to go to row 20. 6 rows of yellow. And 3 more. This is 18 and 19. This yarn is like a dream in the machine. Oh, it's just such a joy to work with. And 20. So we started out with our 10 rows of yellow, then we did 4 rows of black, 4 rows of yellow. I'm going to do one more color change with you, and then I will tell you what to do. Open your latch, pop that in between the last white, the first black. You're going to put your black in there, bring it around to the other side of your white needle, knit 4 or 5 needles, take both ends of your black, put those down under the divider, give that a tug, knit 4 rows, and 22, and 23, and one more, 24. That's 4 rows. I see that black divider coming around. I need to take a black permanent marker and redo that. There we go. I'm on row 24 on my counter. It's about to click on to row 25. I'm going to cut my black yarn, open my latch, pop that in between, grab the yellow, do my color change. I'm just going to set you up here, and then I will do 4 needles. Now, so what we've done is we've done our starting of 10, then we did 4 black, 6 yellow. 4 black, we're going to do 6 yellow, then we're going to do the 2 color combinations again. We're going to do 4 black, 6 yellow. So right now I'm going to do 6 yellow, then I'm going to do 4 black and 6 yellow. Okay, once I get to that point, I'll see you back. Just finishing up row 40, which is my 6th row of yellow. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to open my latch, pop that between the last white and the first black, and I'll recap. I've done 10 rows of yellow, then we did 4 black, 6 yellow, 4 black, 6 yellow, 4 black, 6 yellow, taking us to row 40. We are going to grab our black yarn, jogless join, and tighten that up. We're going to do 10 rows of black. That will take us to row 50. So friends, 10 rows to cap off our patterning. Started with the yellow, did our patterning, ending with the black, 10 rows. I'm going to go till I have 50 rows on my counter. Finishing up row 50, 10 rows of the black. I've got my last white, my first black, in line with my yarn feeder. Now we have completed the outside portion of our beautiful bee. We're going to then take our yellow and we're going to pop that in there. We're going to do a jogless join. We're going to do the inside of our bee. Okay, we're going to grab both of those, knit 4, help that under the divider, pull both ends to tighten your tension. Okay, again, we have 50 rows done on our patterning. We're going to now do 50 rows of yellow. That's going to take us to row 100. So I'm going to keep going. If you are new, once your project starts to touch the table, come back into and watch the next clip, and I'm going to show you what we do and why we do it. So I'm going to keep going until my project touches the table, and magical camera, I'll be right back with you. All right, so my project is starting to touch the table, and if we don't take care of it, what's going to happen is as you keep knitting, this is going to start pushing up like this, and with that slack comes the risk of dropping this little loop off this red teeth. And if that happens, if it pushes it off those teeth, then your row will start to drop down, okay? You don't want that. So what you do is you pick up your piece and you roll it over on itself, forming what we call a donut. Just like that. You can see all these loose stitches. That's where our jogless joins need to be finished, and we will do that when it's off. So there we go. We've got it in a donut, and every 15-20 rows or so, you just keep rolling it up. And that helps to keep the tension along the barrel here nice and firm as well, which helps to take those loops down over the red teeth. Okay, so that, my friends, is what you do. And that took me to row 67 to do, so that's when it started to touch the table. I'm going to keep going till I have 100 rows. So 50 rows of this yellow. Just finishing up row 100. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of yarn tail that wraps around my barrel the length of 2 times around, okay? Long enough so that we can do a drawstring cast off. I'm going to cut that, and if you have knit for a while, you don't have to measure it, you just know. Okay, you'll get there if you haven't. If you're not there yet, you will get there. And we're going to put that on our needle. We still have to make sure that you close your latch, because if that's open, now that you took it out, if you leave it open and you rotate your handle, these needles are going to clip this thing, and one or the other or both are going to break. Make sure that it's closed. You're going to put some tension on this because you still need to finish knitting these 2 needles. So I'm going to put my tension on it. Then I'm going to keep rotating my barrel, watching for that first needle, that black divider to come around. You see how the needles pop up when they get close to here? It won't affect these loops until the second round. And once we get past here, that's the second round. So we do not want to go. I see my needles popping up there. I want to stop there because I'm going to start removing my stitches. If I keep going, again, this is the second round, that needle will pop up and pop this right off that needle. And that won't be good. So we're going to catch that before that needle pops up. We're going to take the second one, pull your strand straight out to the side. Don't pull it up, because if you put it through that loop and you pull it up to take the slack out of it, you might pull a little too hard and you'll take the loop off the next needle, and then that would drop the rope. You don't want to do that either. So those little tips are important ones to heed. Turn your handle. Remember, this is the next one. This one was about to pop up, so this one would have been next. You don't want to go so far that needle pops up and drops your loop, okay? So I'm going to turn it a little bit more, making sure that I don't go too far. And we're going to remove our stitches. Okay, so continue that process. And you know, you can just take your thumb and grab that red divider and pull. And it will turn your handle and turn your barrel with no problem. Okay, and there we go. I'll show you what I mean again. Take that off. I'm going to put my thumb on that red divider and just bring it around. It's not hurting your machine, trust me. There we go. And we're going to continue till we have all of the stitches removed. Holding them on your needle with your thumb until you pull that through. Oops, be very careful. All right, friends. There we go. 45, 46. Our piece is off the machine. I'm going to move my machine out of my workstation area, and I'll be right back with you. All right, let the fun begin. If you watch my videos, you know I love to to fix the joins, the jogless joins. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to just stretch this. I always do it widthwise first. Just give it a little stretch. And this way as well. Now we're going to put it inside out so we can get at those joins. Okay, so knitting in the round, like I explained to you. When you go around, it goes around and it goes around, then it comes up a row. See how these are off? We want to make them line up. So to do that, there's two ways, and I'm going to show you both ways. You take your tails and you gently pull them apart. You can feel it when the slack stops. And when that slack stops, this row is lined up. Then you're going to take this and you're going to tie it. Do not tie this one really tight because you don't want to tighten this, okay? You tie the second one tight. Just like that. And you're going to cut these off fairly short because otherwise you see the black through the yellow, and I don't like that at all. So I'm going to just push those up into the black, hoping they stay. Don't cut them. I mean, I've got about, I don't know, maybe half an inch there, but it's my knot's tight, so it'll stay. So here you see that one. I'm going to go gently. I feel that that's where the slack stops, okay? And I can see that it's lined up. So I'm going to tie and tighten this one. Now this is when you're feeling like you're in a gentle mood and you're just all happy and you're just gonna be so nice and light with this. But then when there's some aggression that you want to get out, or you're feeling a little frustrated because you were fighting with your yarn, or or you had a knot, or you had, you know, some problems, then you want to use the more aggressive way. So I'm going to show you the second way. You hold both of these in your hand. You put your fingers, one over the top and one underneath, and you push down just to hold it in place. Then you're going to take this, and with one hard pull, you're going to pull up. You probably even heard that. It just pulls into place. And to be honest with you, I like this. It's a little bit more aggressive, but I find that it lines up better. I mean, they both line up nice, so I shouldn't even say that. But I just feel that this one just stops where it's supposed to when you do it that way. And I'm going to cut that off short too. I'm going to cut these a little bit shorter. I don't usually cut my tails that short, but black shows through the yellow really easily. And there's nothing worse than having a project where you see your tails are underneath your work. I just don't like that at all. You can listen to this. Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? Okay, so now I'm going to tie my knot, making sure the first one isn't tight, but the second one is. Cut that off. And friends, that is how we fix our jogless joints. And I'm going to just smooth these over into the black area and hope they stay. Okay, and then we're going to feel like we're in a gentle mood. There we go. All right, go ahead, finish all your jogless joins. Come back and see me. All right, friends, how did that go? Okay, we're going to turn it the other way. We're going to give it another little stretch just to get those rows back where they're supposed to be from after we played with it a bit. Then I'm going to show you the magic, okay? Where are my joins? I have to even look for them. They're right here. This is where I joined. Right along here. See? Oh no, it's not actually. I'm feeling it from the other side. This is where I joined. And look it. It's perfect. Perfect. When you're doing a blanket and you're changing colors a lot, this is the join you should use, because then your lines are always the way they should be, and it takes, you know, makes your project look much better. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand and we're going to grab the tail from this yellow end, and we're going to put it in half, and we're going to put it through till it's coming out the other side, just like this. Okay, we're going to then cinch up that inside, smoothing out that edge as you pull this. Always smooth out your edge, otherwise you get a really messy looking top. Okay, smooth it out, pull. I'm going to cut this a little shorter, pop it on my needle. Let's use this needle. I can't find, you know what, I've said to you a couple times in the last number of videos that you know that I love my metal wool needles, right? And I'll show you one for those of you who aren't sure what I'm talking about. They're metal needles with a nice point on them, and they have a plastic end on them, so they're easy to thread. And they come in a set of 3 different sizes. And I use the small ones 75 to 80% of the time. And I had 3 different packages. And all my small, eventually from when you put it through and then you pull up on it like this. When you're pulling up on it, sometimes you pull on this loop a little too hard and eventually it gets weak and it comes out, it pulls out, and you have to throw your needles away. Well, all 3 of my little ones I have thrown away. I have checked Walmart a million times. I checked in the States when I was there this week, and I just can't find them in any store. I usually get them in Walmart, so I guess I'm gonna have to make an order on Amazon. I've been waiting, trying to find them, and to no avail. So I have to order more because they are my absolute favorite needles. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tie a knot to hold that in place. I'm gonna leave this strand outside, and I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay. Smoothing it out as you go, making sure this tail stays outside. Smooth, smooth, smooth. I'm going to cut it off shorter, and I'm going to reinforce around that center there. And once that's done and it's nice and tight, I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to tie a firm knot, bringing the inside one right up close to the outside layer, just like that. I'm going to then cut these a little bit shorter, put them both onto my needle, and we're going to go into that center. You can see the knot right there. There's my little knot. Barely see it, but you can see it. When you take your needle and you go to the inside and you pull it through, give it a little tug, and that knot will come to the inside. Just cut this a little bit because it's gonna be fine like that. Okay, there we go. We have what looks like a beautiful bee beanie that we are going to now make into a bee. You're going to grab your safety eyes. Okay, now I buy them in bulk from Amazon, and I buy a bunch of sizes, and they throw them in a bag with no sizes on the bags. And so then when they're in my drawer, I can't tell you what size they are. I'll look them up on Amazon, and if I can figure it out, I'll let you know. But I think they're probably about maybe an 18, a 16 or an 18, but you gotta use whatever size eyes you like the best, whatever you think will look good. And before we determine where they're gonna go, we're gonna put a little bit of stuffing in to just stuff the head part, and then we're gonna work on the bottom here. But let's put a little bit of fiberfill into the head just so we can figure out where we're going to put our eyes, because I have in the past, yes, I have closed up my piece, realizing that, oh, I can't put the eyes in now because I closed up the end. So then I had to use yarn and make eyes, or take it apart, which I've also done. Okay, so my head is going to be about like that. When I have it here, I want my little mouth to be there. I'm going to put my eyes, I'm just going to estimate about there. And there's the middle. If they're there, I think that's about good right there. So you're going to estimate where you want your eyes to be. If I look at this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches down. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the 4th stitch down from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's the center right there. So you're going to have to eyeball it from there, but it's the 4th row down into the yellow. And that's where I'm going to place my eyes before we move on to anything else. Okay? Shove you in there, push you in there. Okay, I'm going to take out this stuffing and take my back. Now, if you are nervous about whether or not your back are going to come off, take a bead of hot glue and put it inside of the concave part of this, the bowl part of this back, and then push it onto your eye. But for me, I'm not going to, because these ones are really, really tight. Like, they're very tight. Sometimes they're not, and these ones are. So I'm totally confident that they're gonna stay. I just want to make sure that I have these in the right place. Okay, and so then I'm going to pop my other one on, if I can find it. And there we go. Now I can stuff my piece, but before we do that, we're going to grab some black yarn. One that'll go around this one in a little bit, 1.5 times. Pop that on our needle. Dropping everything around me. I know that I had that backing out too. It's got to be here somewhere. I got to find it. Then we're going to take the very edge, which is where our black and our yellow meet here, okay? And you're going to go into your black stitch with your black yarn. You're going to pick up 1 stitch, go over 2 bars, which is another stitch. Go under, over, staying in the black, so it's very easy to see. And you're going to pick up a stitch, go over a stitch, pick up a stitch, go over, under, all the way around. Okay. Very easy to see it. And there we go. I'll see you when you get to the end. I made it around, and I'm going to come up in the same spot that I went in. There we go. You can cut these two so they're a little bit more manageable. Just like that. Now we're going to take our stuffing, and I always feel if you pull it apart, it goes farther. That could be just something I'm leading you astray in, but I really think it makes a difference. And we're going to stuff. They compound it or compress it so hard into the box, because I buy them by the big box, that's why I think I gotta just fluff it out and make it a little bit softer and expand it a little bit. There we go. Now, when you're stuffing your pieces, you can pull this a little bit. You never want to stuff so full that your rows start to come apart like that. That just right then takes away from the beauty of your project, any project. You want to make sure that you stuff it so it's firm, but not so that your rows start to separate. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit more in there. That's too much, I'm sure, but I'm gonna just play with it. Sometimes it's surprising how much it actually will take. I'm gonna just pull that tight, and then I'm gonna assess it. No, it's not too much. I do not, I'm just very careful because I do not want it to, like I said, to have so much in there that the rows start to separate. But when you play with it and you work with it, you'll figure it out. I think that's perfect, actually. Let me see him from the front. I see there's a little bit of a dip in there. I need to go get some more stuffing, but I'm gonna just take a little bit off this edge here, and I'm gonna fill that little dip. And then I might like it a little bit, but there we go. Pay attention to those little details. It makes a huge difference. Generally, I know that it's full enough when it starts to come out the bottom like that. Like when I just have it gently stuffed, and then you see a little extra coming out the back, then you know that it's right. If a lot extra came out the back, then you got too much. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go now, and I'm going to tighten this. I'm gonna tie a knot. As tight as I can get it. Then I'm going to put this on my needle. I'm going to go around and reinforce this till it's closed. Okay, friends, that's done. And he's looking great so far. Grab yourself a snack and let's continue. Generally, I show you cookies and coffee, but I decided I'd be a little bit more health conscious, and I'm going to have some grapes. These ones are from Costco. Like, seriously, Bunny Trail. I forget what they're called. There's something crisp, But they say they taste like strawberries, like strawberry and grape, and they actually do. I don't know what they're called. I threw out the package, but so good. Okay, so we're gonna take some black yarn. We're friends. We're neighbors. That's why I can get goofy like this and go on bunny trails. But we're gonna take some black yarn, and we're going to take our end. So the eyes are there. We're gonna take this end. We're going to go, this is the top of my head. This is where my mouth is gonna go. So I'm gonna go on the underneath side. That's where my knot's gonna be. I'm gonna pick up that first row of black, go over one row, pick up the next, over the next, under, over, oops, under, pull through, leaving a tail. I'm gonna do this all the way around, just picking up that first black row every second stitch. Black is hard to see, and I know for you in the camera, you're probably having a hard time seeing this too, but you see all your rows coming down here. I'm going over one stitch and picking up one. So going under 2 bars, going over 2 bars, under 2 bars, over, under, over, under, over, all the way around. Even I have a hard time seeing it, and it's right and close in front of me. So there. All right, so just like this. Until you get all the way around. And then I'm gonna come up in the same spot that I went in. There we go. From there, I'm going to cut these so that they're a little bit shorter, easier to work with. I'm going to then squish this. So I'm gonna squish it like this. I don't want too much stuffing up in there, but I'm gonna hold it like that. Then I'm gonna pull this, okay? And then I don't know if that makes, it's like that, okay? Because I want a little bit of a end. I don't want to scrunch it like that because I don't want a ball on the end. I just want to shape it so that this is more rounded and wide, and this is a little bit narrow at the base where the little stinger is. This is going to be the pretend stinger, okay? And I'm going to tie off in a knot. And again, put this on your needle. Tuck it down into the black, pull it out, cut it off. And there you go. You don't have too much stuffing in there. Most of the stuffing is in the body. I did, you scrunch it together, but don't fill it full of stuffing before you scrunch it together, and you're going to have a perfect little shaped back end. Looks like Nemo. All right, it's time to make the wings. So we're going to take our 22 needle machine, okay? And we're going to grab some waste yarn. So this is yarn that we're going to use at the beginning of the project that is going to come off. It's going to help us see our edge of our piece so that we can make a straight edge instead of cinching it, okay? You're going to take your waste yarn, go in front of that first black needle, behind, in front, behind, and cast on, drawstring cast on basically is what we're doing here. And it should be behind that last white. Open your latch, pop it in there. We're going to, oops, I got this stuck here. We're going to knit as many rows as you're comfortable with. I do 7. When my stuff isn't all knotted up. And one more. I watched for that black divider to come around, pop that in the center, cut off my tail. I'm going to open my latch, pop that tail in between the last white and the first black. We're going to take our white yarn and put it into the center there. You're going to hold both tails. We're going to knit 4 or 5 needles, and we got to fix the tension here. Otherwise, you see how loopy this will be when we take it off the machine. So you're going to help those down under the dividers, and then you're going to pull both ends away from each other and just snug up that tension right there. And I forgot to set my row counter, so I'm going to do it now. I set it before I get to my last row of waste yarn. Okay? And we are going to knit 45 rows. Okay, so go ahead, friends, knit 45 rows, and I'll see you when you're done. I have just finished row 45. I'm going to cut my working yarn, open the latch, pop it between the last white and the first black. Then we're going to take our waste yarn again, pop it into the center, and we don't need to fix the tension on waste yarn because it's coming off. I'm going to knit 7 rows. There we go. Now, if you're going to set this aside and not work on it right away and close up your ends, you're going to want to do the drawstring cast off, which means you would cut a tail that will go around your barrel in length twice, and then you're going to pick up all these stitches. You're going to circulate, go around one complete turn, and then you're going to start taking off your stitches on the second turn. Okay, I do that in a lot of my videos, so you're going to you can look at any other video and see basically how to do that. But for me today, I'm just going to cut my yarn because we're going to close this right away. I'm going to rotate my barrel the first time. On the second time, those needles push the loops off, and you release your work. Sometimes you have to help the last couple, and there you go, you've got your piece. Keep your eye on your end piece because we're going to do that, close that one first, because we have nothing holding these loops, and it can just start unraveling. And so that's why if you're going to take it off this way, you're going to want to close up your end right away so you don't risk having this start to unravel and then unravel into your work. Okay, grab yourself 2 stitch markers and a crochet hook. I'm going to use a 5mm, and I'll see you right back. All right, so I have my piece here, and we're going to take the end and we're going to pull out all our tails here, and you'll see like this again, it just will start to unravel. And we know that there's 22 needles on here, so we're going to go around and count until we find 11 and 12. But before we do that, grab your stitch markers, and where your yarn is coming out, your waste yarn is coming out of that loop. Here's my waste yarn, here's the last loop it's coming through. I'm going to put a stitch marker under that loop. Okay, keeping that outside. Then I'm going to take my other stitch marker, and when you look at your working yarn, it's coming down this direction. It's coming through this loop here, but it's trailing from this top loop here. So if I was to pull that top loop up and pull this, that's the last loop. Okay, so pop your stitch marker in there. This will be considered loop 22, and this is considered loop 1. Making sure again that your tails are out. We're going to count from loop 1 all the way to 11 and 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. These are your very center stitches. You're going to take your hook, you're going to put it underneath 12. Count that as 1, okay, because that's the first stitch worked. Go up and take stitch 11, put it on your hook, and bring it through loop 12. Now we've worked 2. We're going to go down, pick up that loop, work it through the loop on your hook. That's 3. Go up to the top, 4, 5, and you're going to go back and forth like this, and you're going to make sure, if you're new, that you're counting every one of these loops, because if you miss one of these loops when you take your waste yarn off, that row will unravel. Okay, so make sure you're counting, and when you get to your stitch markers, let me just work my way there. When you get to your stitch markers, this almost there, this bottom one here will always be 21, okay? If when you're counting that is not 21, then you've missed a loop somewhere, okay? And then I can pull up on this other one, which is 22, because sometimes these get really tight as you're working them. And I'm gonna work that loop. I know I've worked all 22 loops. I'm gonna then take my yarn tail, yarn over, work it through that loop, push it down with my nail to fasten off, and then this just, if this is really long, I'll show you a little trick you can do. This one wouldn't be too bad, I wouldn't have to do this, but if yours is longer, pop it on a needle, take it down through that seam there and out the side, putting your finger in there to create a loop so that you can find it when you have your yarn off. You're gonna just take off your waste yarn, just pulling it like that. And now it's not getting tangled around your yarn tail. pull it through just like that. Then you can take that loop and pull it out and go ahead, and we're not going to hide that because we're going to use it to cinch in there. Okay, now we're going to go to the other side. I'm going to show you how to find your tails. This one we did the drawstring cast on, so this one will not unravel. It's that first row is tight in there. Okay, so you're going to then take your stitch marker, see where your waist yarn now is coming out of your work. That's the beginning. Okay, when you trail that down, that last loop that it's going through is this one here. Place a stitch marker. Go down below that, and you'll see where your working yarn is. The stitch right beside it is where you're going to put your stitch marker. Okay, this is 1 and this is 22. You're going to count around, making sure all your tails are out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Put it under 12. You're going to then pick up 11, work it. Now you've worked 2. Go down to the bottom. 3 and 4. And you're going to go back and forth like this until you get to the end again. Okay? And when you get to the end and you have it fastened off, I will show you how we remove the waste yarn. Sometimes when you get to the end, it can get tight in there, so that's why these stitch markers, these bobby pins, are the best thing since sliced bread, because you can pull up on them, get under that loop. That was loop 22. You can work it, yarn over. Now this one's short, it's not going to get caught around, so I'm going to just show you how we remove the waste yarn at the beginning of the project. You're going to roll up until you have the very top row, and you can see that this very top row is going through that very top stitch. Pinch the stitch, pull out your line. You have to pull out the very first row. Now I do have a tutorial on my channel showing you how you can do it a different way, where it would unravel like we did the other end, and that is if you take one strand of yarn, well, like do one row of waste yarn, cut it off, and then attach your waste yarn again and do your other rows. Then when you have this off the machine, you don't have to undo this first row. You just take the bottom piece here, pull it out, and this just falls off. Friends, I personally don't think it takes any less time. People say, oh, it's faster to do it the other way. It's really not. Like if you time it, I haven't timed it, but I would challenge somebody to do that, because you still have to put on one row, cut it off, add another one, do your thing, and then once you have this big piece off, you have to unwind it later. And so I think just to do it like this, it took me like 5 seconds, not even, to take out that first row of waste yarn. And then I can just get her done. And I don't have to worry about extra steps. So really, it's always, people will sometimes say, it's much faster, much easier. I don't think it is. That's just my humble opinion. I don't think it is. But it is a good way to do it too. You can do it either way. And again, I do have a video on it. I just never do it that way. I'm going to put this in here. It's too short because I'm going to have to add one for this side. And we're going to just hide that. Pull that down. But either way works. So you be you. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take another yarn, piece of yarn, put it on our needle, one that's double the length of this, or 2 or 3 times, just a piece of yarn. And we're going to pop that onto our needle. We're going to fold this in half, just like that, and just press down so you can get a pretty much of a visual as to where your center is. Here it is right here. You can't see that in the camera, but when you pop it down, that's close enough. I am very much a person who pays attention to detail. You know that if you watch my videos, but for this particular part, this works good enough, okay? I'm going to then take my yarn and I'm going to pick up that side stitch there, pull it through, tie a knot, leaving enough of a tail that it's easy to hide. Okay, so I've got that knot. If you have to do this again to visualize that line again, then I'm going to just go in right through all the layers, and I'm going to weave back and forth, picking up maybe a row and a half, going over a row and a half, just like this. And you see how easy this is to go right across? Just like that. I'm going to then take this and I'm going to pull on it till it's pretty much as tight as I can get it, and then I'm going to pick up the side there, knot it off, and then one more time. we've got the center done. I'm going to just cut that off. I actually should have hid that one before I did this one. I had this one in my head. So we're going to hide this. Cut it off. Do the same for this one. Cut it off. You've got enough on there, keep it on your needle and go up to the top one here where I cut off, hid the tail because it was too short. I'm gonna just join this one. So I'm gonna pop it into the side stitch there. Tie a knot. I'll hide that end in a bit. We're gonna take the very top edge here that we made and we're gonna just go along the top into the seam and out, in, oops, evenly spaced. Except for I want to, I'm going to go a little further here because I want to come up at the point, just like that. And then I'm going to pull that in together just like that. Bring this around to this one. Tie off. You see where this little loop here is not caught? I don't like that. This is where I do pay attention to detail. I want to come up. I'm going to just pick that loop up. I don't want that little loop hanging out. I know it was a minor thing and you probably wouldn't have noticed, but I noticed. And then we're going to just tie that. Tie another knot to secure. Hide both of those ends. Then you're going to do the same thing on this side using, well, you might have to attach one, but I'll do it with you. 1 second. Let's just hide this, just in case you're in the same situation as me, because you need one to tie off too as well. Okay, so I'm going to pop my needle into the center there, bring it out. Then I'm going to take this little tail, pull it through, cut it off, just like so. We're going to go ahead and see what we can do with this little tail here. Pop that on. And if you're more comfortable, hide it and add a long, or don't hide it. If you're more comfortable, add a longer one there and then you have this one to tie to. But we can manage it without adding a second one. Let me just show you how. Okay. In we go. In, out the very corner. Pull that as snug as you can. Then I'm going to just take this over to the other corner, just like this. Pick up that stitch and pull it together. Then I can tie off. A little tricky with the smaller, shorter end of yarn, but that's okay, it still works. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and hide this yarn tail. Cut it off. Grab yourself another piece of yarn. That one's too short. I've got it on my needle. We're going to just take it to the side here and we're just going to add it, and then we're going to set this aside. I'm going to tie a knot, hide this end, and once that was cut off, once you have your ends cut off and you have this long tail left, you're going to go ahead and you're going to make one more, but you're going to make it 35 rows. You're going to follow the same techniques as we did for this one, but you're going to do this one 35 rows rather than 45. Okay, then cinch the center, close the ends. And did you know that bees have 2 sets of wings? So they have four. They have 4 altogether. And apparently the smaller ones are underneath the bigger ones and they're not quite centered, they're off. So that's how we're going to sew these on. Did I do my research? Maybe a little bit. So we're going to take our large one. We're going to take that tail. Okay. We're gonna take, I like, this is folded up, but I like, choose which side you like better, and then have your, whatever the right side is, have this folded up like that. And then we're gonna just stick that underneath, just like that. Just gonna layer it just a tiny bit. Where's my, let me get this other yarn tail out of the way there. Just like that. So basically I'm putting that halfway over the center of this one. Okay, so I'm lining up this edge right here in the center of this one. Just like that. And I'm gonna go through that center seam on the small one. Then I'm just gonna sew this on. Push it through, come up the center. And I'm gonna go back down, come up the center. Where did I go in here? Oops, this one's getting in my way. Okay, so we're gonna just roll that up and use my favorite little tool. I'm going to take my bobby pin and I'm going to hold that down, and then I'm going to continue on my journey of sewing this down just like that. Okay, coming up and then back down, and I'm going to go back to the other end. Now, I have said to you many times in my videos that I am not a seamstress. I mean, I can sew a straight line like this, but I'm not a seamstress, so you might be looking at me saying, oh, you could do a better stitch than that. This works for me, except for that. This works for me, so hopefully it'll work for you. And if you have a better way of sewing this on, you just, what did I do here? I'm still getting messed up with this. You just go ahead and you figure it out. Which way am I going? I don't know which way I'm going. I'm just going to sew back and forth till this is on. Okay, because I was talking to you. I was worried about this little thing and I lost the direction. So that's okay, but it's really tight on there. So I'm just going to say it's done. Okay? Because it is tight. So I must have did something right. Then I'm going to just pick up tie a knot, push that down with my thumb, tie another one, do the same thing, hide my tail, cut it off. I can then release this thing that didn't really work. I should have taken a little bit better time to do it. And now we have this beautiful piece that we are going to sew onto our bee. Isn't that cute? All right, so we have our bee. We've got our wings. We're going to take those wings, and your tail should be out at the side here. And what we're going to do is locate the edge of this black right here. So make sure your eyes are centered. Like, make sure that this is the very center of the top, okay? Between the eyes there. And you're going to take your piece, and where this little dip is here at the top of the bigger one, you're going to line that up at the edge of the black, of that black strip right there. Making sure this is in the center of the eyes. And once that's on there, you're going to go over to where your yarn tail is. Mine's on that side. So your smaller wings are underneath and they're to the back. Oh, so cute. And then you're going to just see where that is, and it's about the third stitch of the yellow. There, I'm going to just pick it up. Then I'm going to come back up to the edge here, and I'm going to just reinforce this with a knot, just to secure it onto my piece. And then this is a bit tricky, but you're going to just bend this up on the side here. Then you can follow the same row down. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to pick up some of the body. Then I'm going to pick up along that seam of my wing. Then I'm going to go back in. I'm going to pick up a section of the body, trying to stay on that same row. Then I'm going to pick up, hope my hand's not in the way, a piece of the seam that's there and pull. Then lay it flat, make sure I'm still got it centered. Go back in. You can go I'm going across the seam here because I just think it's more secure. But you can go upwards instead of sideways if you like on that part. And then back into the seam that's running up the center. Pick up a piece, and I'm going to do that all the way up. And then I'm going to pull because I want this nice and tight against the body. Okay? Picking up. And anytime you pick up into the body, if you can pick up a piece of some of the fiber fill under, get your needle to go under the fiber fill, that will give you some extra strength. Okay? And I'm just going to always just make sure that I'm going straight here. Pick up, get a little bit of fiber fill under there. Feel for that seam. And pull. Under. Up. Not hard to do, friends. I'm following that seam with the seam along the middle here. You can easily feel it with your fingers. And I'm going to pull. Then we get to the top here. I'm going to grab some stitch there. Pull that down, then I'm going to go right along the seam of this black and yellow, right like that. And then back up and pull. And one more time, I'm just going to grab the black because I don't want to see that little poke of yellow in there. Pick it up, pull. There, now I just see black. There was a little piece of yellow that was like a point of yellow that I could see there, so I just picked up the black stitch and sewed it back on. And that way I don't see a poke of yellow. I want it to be black that I see underneath that. Okay, so those are little attentions to detail that make a big difference when you're creating. Okay, so big knot. Gonna flip this. Take it into there, out, pull. Now that knot just went in when I gave it a good tug. Cut it off. Fix my little ends like that. Look at him, he's just so cute. Now we're gonna do the face before we do the legs, okay? But I am thinking he's just absolutely delightful. So grab yourself a little bit of black yarn. I could pull out of my garbage can that's beside me here. It's a yarn garbage can, so don't worry, because there's a strand there. I'm going to place this on my needle. We're going to take that little face. Here's where our center is, right there. I'm going to come up on the side here. Actually, I'm going to come up where it's black because I'm going to go back into where it's black and it'll be perfect, okay? So from there, I'm going to go just below that center. Just like that, leaving a tail there. So I'm just below the center. See, there's the center there, and I'm down. And I'm going to go up and straight across. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. Just like that, then come back to my point there. I'm going to put 2 strands, so I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to come up where the corner is there. I'm not pulling tight because I don't want to compromise the look of the face that's underneath. Then I'm going to come back down into the point, back up to this side here, this corner here, and it's just laying nice and flat against the piece without pulling. Okay, I'm going to go back into the point to finish off that side and out where I went in here. Okay, out the same stitch. Pulling that. That's perfect. Okay, take these 2 strands, tie them, and when you tie this first knot, don't pull too tight because then you will pull on the mouth. You can pull this one tighter. Put these back on your needle. Hide them back. Go into where those ends come out and under the stuffing, out the black. Pull up, cut off, take your needle, pull up on this entry point right here and up there. Friends, there's an attention to fine detail that I'm noticing, and sometimes this happens when we create with this. I'm going to take black yarn and we're going to point this off a little bit more. So you're going to just go in under any stitch along the side there. And I'm about, I don't know, would that be half an inch? Just up along the side here, and I'm going to just weave in and out. Just very loosely around this piece. Hope the camera's up high enough. Okay, and from there, I'm going to take these two and I'm going to tie them. It's going to make this a little bit pointier. See what I just did? That made that pointier instead of a, like, it's a little bit shorter, but it just takes away that little rounded kind of rim that was there. I'm going to tie a knot here. Makes a subtle difference, but it makes a difference. Tie a knot, hide my ends. 100% better. I like that already. 100% better. Okay, hide your ends. Now, if you want to make this even more pointier, you just do it again and you grab some more ends and you bring them in, and that will point this even a little bit more. But I'm happy with how this is looking now, so we are done. So what we're going to do now is grab our Wonder Knitter. This is what I'm going to use. I love this contraption. Now, I love my Addi egg too, and I have videos on how to use the Addi egg, but I purchased one of these some time ago, well, years ago actually, and I remembered that I had it and I pulled it out, and this is superior. Friends, it's so much cheaper. Get yourself this Wonder Knitter. I'm going to show you how to use it. We are going to grab our black yarn. It comes with a little hook too, but I like this one better. This is my metal loom hook, and this is one I'm going to choose to use. This comes with a removable top part. So this is a 3-prong. This one is 6. This is the bigger one. That's the one we're going to use. All they do is snap off and then snap on, just like that. So simple. Okay, you're going to take your yarn, you're going to pop it into the center down there. There's a little hole here that you bring it through, and I'm just going to hold it with my hands just to put some tension on it. And then you're going to go in front and behind, in front and behind, in front and behind, all 6 needles, just like that. Then into the yarn feeder it goes. Then you're going to hold it with the hand here, with your finger. Just let it slip through your hands, but you need just a tiny bit of tension. This is the cast on roll, okay? We're still on the cast on roll. So then I'm going to tighten this one just a little bit. Once it's in there, you're going to begin rotating this with your thumb. And wherever there's 2 loops, you're going to take the bottom loop over the top loop. You're not putting much tension, you're just holding it in place basically. You're going to turn it. This one only has 1 loop, you miss it. This is still the cast on. This one has 2, you're going to take the bottom over the top. There's 1 on the next one, there's 2 on the next. Take the bottom over the top. We are finished our cast on, except for this one here. It'll have 1, okay? Then we're going to start here. Now we've got 2 loops on there. Now we're going to make this until it grows to just a little bit below here. Now I did the work for you with a really loose tension. If you want them all to be just exactly the same, you're going to count 110 needles worked. So I'm going to start 1, and then you turn it, and 2. You can let go of this one now. Just hold this one. And 3, and 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, literally 9. This is all you do. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then every once in a while you pull this down and you keep going till you have 110. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm not going to stay with you, but you'll see I'm almost at 25, so a quarter of the way there basically. How fast this is. And when I get to 110 counted, I'm going to come back and show you, okay? What was that, 22? something like that. You don't have to worry about the starting peg and the ending peg. It doesn't have to be multiples of 6. Wherever you stop is fine. Okay, so I'm going to count to 110 and then I'll show you what we're doing after that, okay? That wasn't so bad, was it? Okay, so 110 rows, and then when you give it a good stretch and put it into place, it's just a little bit below the end there. That took like, I bet you less than 10 minutes, like seriously. Once you get in the groove of it, then you're gonna take one of these pipe cleaners or chenille stems, whatever you call them. You're gonna put it in half, put your finger in the loop there and give it a twist. Just bring it together, okay? You're going to take that loop end and measure it. You're going to put it at the bottom here, and you're going to measure up to the top here, just where the end of the pink is. You're going to bend it over so that this pointy end goes down in the middle. That's why I put the loop at the bottom. Then you're going to bend that down and you're going to twist it. Just like that. And twist those little ends in if you need to. Okay? Then you're going to stick that chenille end into your piece. You're going to take this out of the yarn feeder there, cut off a little tail. Pop this on your needle. These are so easy to make, you guys. I know some of you are going to say, I don't have a Clover knitter. I don't have an Addi egg. What can I do? Well, you have to order one because this is an important part of this project, or you have to think of something yourself to replace it, because often I will get comments under the pattern. I don't have a 22 needle machine. What can I do? I don't have this and I don't have that. I honestly, I can't make multiple variations of a pattern. So I make one, and if you like it enough, you'll hopefully be able to invest in one of these. I've used this like cords on several different patterns, and it's a staple in my knitting work. And so I think that if you were to get one, you wouldn't regret it. And you can get it on Amazon, get them in Michaels. They're not expensive. Use a coupon at Michaels and you'll get it for a really good price. Okay, so let me put this on my needle. And I honestly would recommend this more than I would recommend the Addi egg. That Addi egg, I loved it at first, and I think it was more the novelty of it. And I do like it, but if I'm 100% honest, which I always am, it doesn't compare to this little Wonder Knitter. You don't get tucked stitches with this Wonder Knitter. You don't have the frustration. It just works like a little charm, and I absolutely love it. So there we go. We have one made. You're going to go ahead. You seen how fast? I didn't show you these right away, but you're going to make 8 of these. 2 for the antenna and 6 for the legs. There you go. Put on a good movie. You can get all those done in an hour or a little bit longer. Seriously, it doesn't take long at all. Go ahead, make yourself 8 of these little guys, and when you have those all done, come back and see me. All right, so got these all neat and organized, ready to be put on. Now, 2 of my close friends, they're married to each other, and they have a bee. I was going to say a bee farm, but they have lots of bees and they harvest honey. And so I had to do my homework so I don't have them saying, Shelley, like seriously? So the first half of the bee is the thorax, and this is the abdomen. In the thorax, there are 4 legs and 2 on the abdomen. Ha! I looked that up. I hope you're watching, Lisa and Len. So we are going to take 2 of these. They're close together. They're not like right attached to each other, but they're close together. We're going to take one of them, actually. Now we're going to turn our little guy upside down, but for reference sake, we're going to say that from the middle of this black is the second half, and the middle of the black up is the first half. We're going to put one of our, here's our eyes. He's laying completely on his side here. So you got to try to, we're going to try to make it so that they're both like this, okay? So we've got them spaced out evenly on the bottom, but we're going to just work on one side here. We're going to go right where the seam of this black starts, and I'm going to pull it through. Then I'm literally going to sew it on. Just like this. Pull it through. Come through again. Back into the middle. No fancy seaming here, as you can clearly see. Over to this one side. I'm going to go up the side here to that first stitch on the side here. Then I'm going to come back in, go over to the other side here, go up to the first side stitch there, come back in, and that makes this look more flat than a pointed end. See now, because I went up the side on both sides, this is more flat there. So that's one. I'm gonna leave that hanging because if I have to remove it, I will remove it. I'm gonna take my next one. This is still the first half, right? So I'm gonna go about the first row of this yellow right here, our second row of the yellow. So here's one stitch there, there's the second one. I'm gonna go into that second one. And I'm gonna attach this one the same way, okay? Then I'm going to take my third one and I'm gonna go below that black band there. All of these in line just like that. See, friends? So one was on the line here. One was 2 stitches above the line here. And the other one's gonna be just on the, what did I say? Just below the line here. So actually I'm gonna go into that first yellow one of, let me see, let me hold that up again. No, I'm gonna go down further. I'm gonna go right, maybe this is what I said. I'm gonna go right on the line there, okay? Right underneath the first black. There, okay? That's where I'm gonna place this one. Okay, so go ahead, attach all 3 of those, and then I'll do the same and I'll be back with you. Okay, friends, I sewed all 3 on the same exact way as I did this first one. And there they are. We've got our little pipe cleaners in there so we can bend them a little bit. These 2 are closer together and this one's got a bigger gap. And it looks great. Do the same thing to the other side. Now, now that I have these placed and I can see that I like how they are, they're a nice line, I can then go ahead, tie a knot, and hide my ends. But I never hide the ends until I have all the pieces that are matching on at one time, because then I know they're in the right place and they're easier to remove and replace. Reposition if you don't have them knotted off, okay? So go ahead, do that on the other side, then we're going to do the antenna. There you go, you guys. Oh, so adorable. You know, sometimes I make a prototype and then I do my video, and other times I figure it out along with you as I'm doing it. And for this one, I wrote out the pattern, I did a prototype, and I changed it immensely because I didn't like how the first pattern turned out. So I did it differently. I'm loving how this one is looking. I think that it's much better than the first prototype that I did. Again, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 efforts, and other times it's good on the first try. But I write out my patterns, then I try them, and then I figure how I can make tweaks. I'm going to tweak this one again because the more I look at it, the more I want it to be pointed. So just how we did it before is how I'm going to do it one more time. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to add these beautiful little, oh my goodness, this guy is like cuter than cute. We're going to add our antenna. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your, well, we need to have a piece of yarn, black yarn on our needle. We're going to take the end of this one antenna. Let's move Buzzy out of the way. And we're going to just roll this in on itself. And that little pipe cleaner is in there. So there we go. Going to roll it in just like that. Then I'm going to, and that, yep, that's perfect. I'll measure it once I have it sewn. Then I'm going to just take my yarn tail, put it through like that. Then I can tie this. Is he in the way? I can tie this just so that it stays in place, just like this. Sorry, I got lots of yarn tails here, and when it's black, it's hard for you, I know. Okay, I'll hide this tail, of course, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up right here. Then I'm going to pick up, well, I'll have to go this way now, right there. Then I'm going to go back in just to reinforce it, but go over one more stitch. And then I'm going to come here, pick up. And knot it off. Okay, one more knot, hide your ends, do that to the second one. but I'm going to give you measurements here before you get started, okay? So I'm going to just pop that in there, bring it out, cut it off, hide this one as well. I'm going to have to put my needle in first because it's short. Thread the needle. Pull that through. Cut it off. There we go. And we have our first antenna. I'm going to do that one to this second piece, but again, I said I would measure it, so let me go ahead and do that. From the base to the top is 3 inches. Go ahead, do it to both of them, and then we'll sew it on together. I've got them both done, and what we're going to do is we're going to sew them on to we're going to line up the eye, the very inside part of the eye, and go up to the top, and we're going to sew them on the very outside edge of that black. Okay, just like that. So you're going to sew them on just the same way that you sewed on the legs, and we're going to attach them this way. But I think that this little thing we're going to put forward, not sideways like this and not inside, but we're going to put it forward just like that. Okay, so go ahead, sew both antennae on, same way we did the legs, but you're going to sew them on the edge of this black piece right here, just above the eye. All right, Buzzy the Bee is done, and when your antennae are on, it should be centered on this line too. I should have mentioned that. I had lined it up with the eyes in a sense, but it's more important to center it on here, which should be centered on there. So anyways, there you go. There's Buzzy the Bee. Isn't he just like adorable? I was going to fix his tail a little bit, and I'm going to, or his thing here, is that the stinger? I don't know what this is called. I'll have to look that part up. But I'm going to do one more round around here to make this one more time pointy, and then I'll do a photo shoot, and you will see him. Because it's hard to see him when he's on the table here with the camera. I think he looks so adorable. I hope you enjoyed making him, friends. Now, isn't he just about the cutest thing you ever did see? You know what? I am almost 60 and I have never in my life been stung by a bee, and I'm petrified of them. When they come around, I freak out. So this little guy, I mean, he's got a cute little stinger, but he's harmless. So I really love this little one. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, friends. And if you make a bee, please show me in my Facebook group. I would love to see the ones that you make. And if you post in other Facebook groups, please always add the link. And that would help me out a lot. I would appreciate that so much. It would help people to be directed to my channel. So thanks for doing that. Anyways, take care. And thanks again for joining me. It's always a pleasure spending time with you. Take care and have a blessed day.